We told you earlier how the defense had completed its case last week, and now closing arguments, as you can see, are underway. So joining us live to talk about what's expected today is civil rights attorney DeWitt Lacy. We thank you very much for taking some time this morning. In your opinion, after watching these past 3 weeks, 40-something witnesses, who do you think presented the strongest case?
Thanks for having me on, Javier. I'll tell you, I think the prosecution did a remarkable job of presenting its not only theory of the case, but I guess a wealth of evidence which demonstrated that Derek Chauvin has some culpability here. I think they did a really good job. The defense did a measurable job in what they could do in consideration of the amount of evidence that they were facing. But the prosecution really should be commended for making their best efforts to have a conviction. A lot of times there's criticism of prosecution for not prosecuting hard or as they should when officers are the defendants. But that can't be the case here. At least that shouldn't be argued.
You talked about the defense. They also used a use of force expert and a forensic pathologist who testified Chauvin was within protocol and Floyd might have died, even raising a possibility of car exhaust. Was it enough to instill reasonable doubt? Because at the end of the day, they just need a sliver.
That is true. In criminal trials, you only need one person to hold out in order for there to be a hung jury. I don't know whether or not that was moving for the jury. Of course, I am not sitting there right now, but I will say in light of what the prosecution has put on, I don't know that that has necessarily moved the needle, and for many reasons. But we'll have to see how that really affects the jury. I just think that the prosecution has pathologists and a pulmonologist who testified to some of the things that the defense expert testified to. To justify the homicide of George Floyd.
Police officers, as you know, are rarely convicted of murder, especially while charged from an incident while on duty. How much pressure is on this jury right now?
Tons. This trial, look, it is rare that a trial gets so much press coverage, right? So there is tons of pressure on the jury, and they all know it. I would imagine then that the jury members want to get this right, and they're going to take this deliberation seriously. So I think there's tons of pressure on the trial. There was pressure on the court to make sure that its rulings were fair and consistent, and on both prosecution and defense. It is a very important trial in the American jurisprudence.
If you were to call it right now, what do you think the jury would come back with, or do you think he could be, Derek Chauvin could be acquitted?
Well, look, I'm not one to tell you that it is impossible for Derek Chauvin to be acquitted or for there to be a hung jury. That is certainly a possibility, especially given the hot button issue that police brutality and or misconduct is in this nation right now. It's very divisive and polarizing. So could that happen in this setting of jurors? Yes, absolutely. However, I will tell you that I think that the prosecution put on a pretty rock solid case, and I would expect there to be a conviction at the very least on a murder 3.
Yeah, and that's why they brought that back into the set of charges. All right, we appreciate your insight, and we're all watching this very closely.
Thanks for having me, Javier.